Welcome to the Fiscal Philosophy YouTube channel, where today was a red day in the market and Amazon led the way in clapping my collective cheeks on any accounts that I trade stocks in. Now, I think I was about to make a video about Grab, giving an update there since they just had earnings and it's one of my favorite stocks. However, I'm also in Amazon and they led the way clapping me on this red day after a disappointing jobs report. So I figure I owe it to you, the audience, to maybe touch base on Amazon real quick. I'll still at some point do the update on Grab. How about this weekend? Sounds good to me. But in the meanwhile, Amazon, whoa boy, we got clapped. I heard that that Jassy rambled and people did not like that. But I think probably this drop is overly dramatized and just made worse by the overall that disappointing jobs report and the sense people have that things are overpriced right now. So let's just take a beat and think a little bit about Amazon, and I'll tell you why I'm not panicking to press the sell button right this moment. So I think part of why the market was scared or quick to sell on Amazon is this number. And you might be saying, well, what? They grew 17% year over year in AWS. Is 17% not pretty solid growth? So sure, you might say that, and you might be right, but it is a bit of a deceleration from where they were in 2024, which in that way they're a victim of their own success in having done so well in 2024 that now it's harder to push the bar higher. But it's also that this AWS growth is lower in Q2 of 2025 than what Google put up for their Google Cloud services, which was over 30%. So the concern might be that, hey, maybe Google will, if these numbers stay where they're at, or go even lower, maybe Google ends up surpassing them and being the dominant player. Or I heard Microsoft had a good result with their Microsoft Azure, so that might be maybe a cause for concern. But the fact of the matter is that 17% growth on something that's already billions and billions and billions of dollars is still like a lot of growth. And I'm not like, this doesn't on its own as like a one-off data point really trigger anything catastrophic in me. Now, of course, that is also related to, hey, a lot of their CapEx is building out AWS. Although I did also hear a point that one of the limiting factors at the size they're at now to continuing to push here is actually with power, like actual electricity, getting as much as they need to be able to actually push this through and maybe even meet demand. So that might be a possibility. That might be one of the constraints. So it may not just be, hey, Amazon sucks. It might be, hey, there's a bottleneck somewhere and they need to figure out the solution to it. So my favorite valuation metric for Amazon is probably the price to operating cash flow. I would guess that this is probably whether purposely or accidentally, what the market is generally basing its price on. And I think the reason for that is, hey, you recognize that in order to drive all of this growth in their business, especially now like AWS, but in the past their e-commerce, it's a CapEx heavy play, right? And so your free cash flow, when you have a very, very CapEx heavy growth strategy, is going to be constrained until you reach a point where you can ease off on that CapEx because you've hit a level of maturity in whatever business segment it is that you're building out. So today, their CapEx may not be mostly going to distribution centers and fulfillment centers and warehouses and such, and more so it's going into data centers and servers and all that for AWS, but still it's CapEx intensive. So recognizing that their free cash flow will be constrained, you look under the hood and say, okay, but before you spend that CapEx, how much operating cash flow are you producing? Is that growing? And that kind of gives you an idea of if that CapEx is paying off in a way that could translate into free cash flow later. And so if they ever reach a point where, hey, like we've got most of our business segments pretty mature and now we don't need as much CapEx for like build out, you end up in a situation where they could slow down CapEx while maybe operating cash flow is continuing to grow somewhat. And then a lot of that operating cash flow then becomes free cash flow, which is then free to return capital to shareholders if there's not anywhere else to invest it. And you would end up with like maybe a good buyback program or something like that. Now, I think their growth is still high enough where I'm not too worried about what they do with that. I want them to keep driving that growth in the segments that are getting solid double-digit growth every year, because this is a massive enterprise, and double-digit growth for an enterprise Amazon size is it's a lot of growth, okay? And as long as they can achieve that, I'm happy for them to allocate as they deem necessary. And I just think, hey, if somebody offered you 18 or 19 times just straight up cash flow or net income for a business like Amazon, you wouldn't blink. But I get it, right? The CapEx is kind of maybe it's viewed as a risk, but their moat is incredible, and I think that really they have the levers to pull to just print cash really almost any time, and it's just the cash is considered to be better spent on growth right now. So I think this is the look under the hood that I like to go off of to decide, hey, is Amazon still rationally priced? And I think that, Jassy is maybe overhated. I heard he rambled a little on the call and stuff, but under the hood, I think Amazon is still a great business, and I'm not looking to sell anytime soon. Not necessarily looking to add here because I'm above my basis, but stronghold for me. If you're like me and you're still holding your Amazon with diamond hands, make sure that you hit that like button. Subscribe to help me grow the channel. My Discord is linked in the description. It's free, and we like to do a lot of fun stock talk in there. Also catch me every Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, Cash Flow Kings live. We have a pre-recorded episode with a stock getting pitched that you may not expect. You can consider becoming a member here or on the Cash Flow Kings channel. Both support me, and I greatly appreciate everybody who takes that step to do that. I shall talk to you later. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll try to get that grab update out as soon as I can. Take it easy, everyone.